Alrighty everyone, welcome back. We are now a little over 1 week away from the official release of The Mandalorian Season 3 on Disney+. That's really going to kickstart Jon and Dave's journey with the new Star Wars franchise and how they are going to approach this new universe from that point on forward with the Ahsoka series, Mando 4, Star Wars Mandalore, as well as a whole lot of other shows that are currently in the works, as well as Ghost Track 17. This is Mike Zero. Subscribe if you're new and like this video to see future Star Wars updates. I'm also on Twitter at Mike01. I thank you all so very much for the great and kind support. Now, the thing about Jon and Dave is that they are really taking a lot of Star Wars Legends aspects and throwing it into the current canon material to really kind of just make both Legends and canon coexist. And I think that's a very healthy way to approach it. They're going to do things as accurately as possible to really make the hardcore fans very satisfied, and a lot of that's going to begin with Mando 3, Mando 4, and Ahsoka. However, when it all dwindles down to what Jon and Dave have been doing behind closed doors, one thing in particular is actually very reassuring about what they are about to do for a new mystery Star Wars TV show that is considered to be a post-Episode 9 series that's going to actually be considered a Rise of Skywalker sequel in order for themselves to give their own version of Rey, Ben Solo, and other characters oriented from the sequels. Now, with that being said and alright, I know that some fans absolutely dread the sequel trilogy characters, and that's okay. But what Jon and Dave are about to do is that they are about to give us their iterations of those characters, their takes on those characters, and literally changing them in this post-Episode 9 show that they are planning to base 10 to 15 years after the events of Episode 9. Now, with that being said, alright, given that, of course, Favreau and Filoni are currently doing very big things for the franchise, they recently were able to make significant progress on something very special for the fans. Now, it's noted that just recently, Jon and Dave actually initiated plans to rehire Adam Driver for a new Star Wars series that is considered to be a Rise of Skywalker sequel show that will bring back Ben Solo in a very unexpected and surprising way for the fandom. Now, Driver has been in contact with Jon and Dave for the past several months about reuniting for the role of Ben Solo. It's described that Jon and Dave are preparing to do something powerful using the World Between Worlds in the sequel to Episode 9 in the form of a series. Now, the overall budget for this show is said to be very high, even higher than that of Star Wars Andor Season 1 and 2, to give it a true cinematic quality for the community. Daisy Ridley will also be joining Adam Driver with her return as Rey. The plan, based on recent notes made by Jon and Dave, is to base the series 15 whole years after the events of Episode 9 that will showcase a new Jedi Order and surprise appearances of familiar faces from the sequels, originals, and prequels. Now, let me just stop right here for a second. Now, we obviously know that everything related to the sequel trilogy, it really is like a big divide between fans. You have some fans that love the sequel trilogy movies. These mainly consist of two groups. People that were very new to Star Wars, and the other group being, of course, people that know very well about Star Wars and thought the sequels were just A-okay. Nothing so, substantially great, but also just okay. Now, you have other fans that absolutely dread the sequel trilogy movies, and I kind of fall into the group where I see the sequels and all I can really see are compilations of good scenes. But through and through, start to finish of the trilogy, it's really not consistently good, I would say. I think that it has good moments, it has surprising moments in there, great cinematic pieces like Rey and Kylo Ren fighting on the Death Star, or another great example, where you have a moment of, Ben Solo actually going to Exegol, facing and meeting Palpatine. It's stuff like that that stands out to me with the sequel movies. Or Luke on the edge of the cliff at the end of The Force Awakens. It's little bits and pieces that I like about the sequels. Anyways, I think that this is a great move. The fact that they are grabbing Adam Driver for this post-Episode 9 series along with Rey, Daisy Ridley, I should say, as Rey. This actually connects like a puzzle to what Daisy Ridley was posting and teasing on her Instagram story months ago, where she was at Lucasfilm taking pictures of the Fountain of Yoda. I don't know if you guys know the Yoda statue right by Lucas HQ. There's a lot of things going on. So this new Episode 9 sequel series, they are, like I said before, trying to make it based 15 years after and focusing on a new Jedi Order. Should be exciting because basically what John and Dave are doing is that they're going to be taking elements from past material and throwing it into the show. They also want to get rid of the sequel trilogy theming. So it's going to feel totally different. You know how movies have themes or tones and stuff like that? It's not going to have the sequel trilogy tone per se. So these characters like Ben and Rey, they're going to be approached very differently by John and Dave. Moving on. Now, additionally, this most likely is alluding to the Force Ghost plan to return in the sequel series when John and Dave are, of course, approaching on bringing back original characters, prequel characters, etc. Now, John and Dave already have plans to bring in Hayden Christensen and to also digitally recreate Sir Alec Guinness's version of Kenobi's Force Ghost. John and Dave are already working on some form of connection between the Force Ghosts and Ben Solo, and how this leads to Ben's appearance in the sequel series for the fans to see. They are aiming to get this released by 2026 at the latest, and to begin production in 2024 sometime during the summer. So, we can see that John and Dave have their hands tied. This is a very big project, a very important project for them to really kind of just prove themselves to the fans that they can absolutely fix the sequel characters. Now, there's no doubt about it that the fan favorite characters of the sequels are both Rey and Ben. They stood out the most. I think that Poe Dameron and Finn needed a lot more limelight, better writing, better scenes. They just got pushed to the wayside, and it was just unfair to Oscar Isaac and John Boyega, let's be honest. So that's why I think that Rey and Ben as characters hold the most value when it comes to the sequel series. Now, there's no word on John or Oscar coming back. In fact, John was approached by John and Dave, and he actually refused. So did Oscar Isaac. He wants nothing to do with these movies, or should I say these series, from them being based on the sequel films. And I think what the problem is that Oscar and John realize what happened to their characters and what really happened to them as actors after the sequel trilogy films. Now, granted, Oscar had an opportunity with Dune, so claps to him, but we haven't really seen Boyega in anything, which is kind of sad. I mean, he's not really getting all these A-list actor-filled blockbuster movies, right? So, obviously there's a lot at work and play here by John and Dave. They're really pulling the strings to get this out by 2026. It may sound ridiculous now, how far it may seem, but think about it, it's really not all that far away. They want to start production in 24, get this thing out by 26, market it throughout the year of 25, stuff like that. So that could very well put it in around January to February of 26 is what they're aiming for, if they do plan on marketing this thing like how they plan for 2025. Anyways, guys, fill me in below in the comments what you guys have to say about all of this, and if you guys did enjoy the content for today, fill me in below what you guys have to say about all of that, and I'll catch you guys next time.